In a rare moment of candor, former President Donald J. Trump admitted he could potentially lose his latest bid for the presidency, according to ABC's Jonathan Karl. Karl, who spoke with Trump by phone on November 3rd, described the exchange, noting that Trump responded with uncharacteristic uncertainty. "I asked him, 'Is there any way you could lose?' Karl recounted. He said something I've never really heard him say before, which was, 'Yeah, I guess it could happen. Things happen. Bad things happen.'" The former president also expressed frustration over critiques of his campaign's messaging approach, particularly allegations that he lacks discipline. According to Karl, Trump defended his so-called weave strategy, a method by which he jumps between topics, often veering into controversial areas. He said the weave, as he calls it, is what got him elected president, Karl explained. On the Democratic side, First Lady Jill Biden is scheduled to campaign vigorously in North Carolina, one of the nation's critical battleground states, on the eve of the election. This state, which Trump carried in both 2016 and 2020, represents 16 key electoral votes that could prove pivotal in determining the outcome of this year's race. President Biden, however, remains absent from the campaign trail, largely deferring to Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic ticket's focal point since she assumed the role of presidential nominee in July. First Lady Biden's stops will include visits to Winston-Salem, Scarborough, and Durham, where she is expected to rally support for Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. Neither Harris nor Walz have planned appearances in North Carolina on November 4th, a campaign decision underscoring the First Lady's central role in drumming up last-minute support. President Biden, meanwhile, has largely stayed out of the public eye as the election approaches, with his agenda focused on official duties rather than campaign events. According to his schedule, the president plans to spend Monday in Washington making calls to military service members involved in recent counterterrorism operations against ISIS. This approach reflects the transition in leadership within the Democratic Party's campaign, with Vice President Harris taking the reins. Harris has actively distinguished her own platform, telling Fox News recently that her administration would be not a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. When pressed by anchor Brett Baier, she emphasized, "I represent a new generation of leadership," distancing herself from her predecessor's approach in both style and substance. As both parties enter the final days of campaigning, the divergent strategies on display may signal contrasting bets on voter sentiment, with one candidate confident in an unconventional approach and the other looking to an evolving brand of leadership.